If you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do, all these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast, dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
Hello and welcome to the GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast, brought to you by GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Staci. It is officially summer now, both just weather-wise, but also like officially past that point in June, summer, but it's been hot for a while where I live because that's just unfortunately where I live, and I hate summers here. But the one thing I do like about summer is that it makes finding sunscreen a bit easier, because now all of a sudden it's like it's there and out in the front, and it's got this whole large section that's sort of, pointed at with signs, whereas before you have to sort of go to the back and find it, and the selection's usually not as big because I don't know, we don't need sunscreen the rest of the year. I really can't understand that. But because it's summer and somehow people only evidently put on sunscreen during the summer, that got me thinking about skin and all of what exactly the skin does with protection. And so I started thinking about the skin barrier. So you've probably heard several times in your life that, skin is our largest organ, which again, it's just not how you think about your skin. Or at least not how I think about my skin. Like, it's just there, and I'm trying now to remember what movie it was where, like, alive humans were called flesh bags. It kind of feels like that, like I am a self-controlled bag of flesh, and this is my my balloon outside that happens to keep me all together, as opposed to, insects, which have a heart outside, which is so weird to me because that's not what I'm used to. But the skin barrier is there to actually stop potential problems from passing through and to protect what lies within, protecting you against like the perils of the environment. I love that the article I found did say perils of the environment, like it's that serious. But also UV, pollution, infection, toxic chemicals, etc. Building up this surface layer, the skin barrier that is, could be the key to reducing skin sensitivity in the long term. I'm very lucky in that I don't really have sensitive skin, and I didn't really have like problem skin. Even like when I was a teenager, I had some zits, but I didn't have like major acne to the point that I needed to pay attention to the acne commercial on the TV here. My sister was not as fortunate, but for those who are worried about sensitive skin, especially, this is probably all not news to you because you've probably looked into how to take care of your skin before. Unfortunately, though, our skin barrier weakens with age, which is just, I feel most things weaken with age. What is that? Biology, seriously. I get wiser, theoretically, as I get older, but then all the physical stuff goes to crap. Awesome. Great trade-off. But also, if you have whiter or paler skin, then your skin barrier will be thinner, which means you're more prone to rashes, redness, and irritation. So you really do want to take care of it and protect it. If your skin barrier is working well, it will retain water effectively, maintaining good hydration balance, and be resilient yet flexible. It's likely to look more radiant thin as a consequence, and this means that it contains the right amount of lipids and the right amount of natural moisturizing factor. And this makes me think of all those commercials with skin products with I want to say hydrogel, but that's not what it is. I think hydrogel might actually be the name of a specific product, but that's not the ingredient. But the one where they tap their cheek and it bounces to show that it's, fully moisturized and has all this water in it. It kind of makes me think of that. And especially with it being summer now, I'm just constantly thinking about, not about my skin being dehydrated, but just about me being dehydrated because it's hot. And I do try to drink more water, but then that's also kind of annoying because then I end up going to the bathroom more often. And it's just like, again, with the unfortunate toss-ups, what is this? But if you are not keeping your skin sufficiently hydrated, it will look dry, dull, possibly scaly. And this means that chemicals can more readily penetrate it and potentially cause inflammation, which manifests, again, as skin sensitivity. And steroid creams, so if you have steroid creams that are prescribed for things like severe irritations or eczema or allergic reaction, these can also cause a thinning of the skin, which can leave you vulnerable to further irritants. So there's a lot going on. And I know, and I believe I talked about this on a previous health and wellness episode about the debate about whether or not, skin products are possibly doing more harm than they're worth, particularly sunblock with the chemicals in sunblock, and that I just can't use mineral sunblock because it shows up on me and it's very annoying. So I have to use the interchemical things here. But as we're going along, these chemicals are still relatively recent. So we don't know the long-term effects of them, on our bodies, but also in the waterways, since so many people do wear sunscreen only at the beach or at the pool, or again, during summer, as you can finally find it front and center in the Interstore here, that's getting washed off. The regular recommendation is you're supposed to reapply, I believe, every 2 hours, but every 1 hour if you're, in water or swimming, which of course means it's getting washed off and getting into our waterways, which, flows to the rivers and the oceans, and then getting into the marine life there. And what is it doing there? And the real answer is we don't actually quite know yet. But it also seems to be sort of we have yet no idea whether or not this is bad, but because we have yet no idea whether or not this is bad, probably better safe than sorry. And it kind of feels that way with even non-sunscreen products like not hydrogel, but I just cannot, I apologize, think of what that actual word is right now. All the newfangled skin product here that has very special named ingredient that's supposed to, brighten your skin or get rid of wrinkles or plump your skin or what have you. Okay, those are all great, but what are they doing to our body? And what are they doing to, again, the waterways? Because you probably wash them off, at least when you wash your face. So, don't know. I, again, don't have sensitive skin, so this has never been as much of a concern for me. I can be somewhat, I won't say terrible to my skin, but I'm not the most loving and caring and gentling of my skin. It's a soft petal and it needs to be protected or whatever. I'm just yeah, no, I'm just going to slap on some lotion and go. But because our skin protects us, we should probably protect our skin as best as possible. Yeah, I'm going to go with that message. So we're going to take a short break right now. Stay tuned.
Still on the search of that one true love? On the limbo in this crazy world of dating, marriage, relationships? Well, listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Relationship Podcast, your one-stop podcast for everything about relationships.
Welcome back to the GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast, where today we are talking about the skin barrier and how to protect and care for your skin barrier. So I found some tips online when I was looking this up of things to do to best care for, I'll say, your skin. And the first one, very interesting for me, is to keep your skincare routine simple, which I think is so interesting because a few years ago there was all that hubbub about the Korean and or Japanese skincare routine, which is like 10 steps. It's not, that's a little bit of an exaggeration. Most people don't do 10 steps every night, but they do multiple steps, and they actually think that's, helpful, as opposed to the very American idea of, oh, let's have one product that does it all, a 3-in-1 or whatever. I very much prefer the do-it-all product, even though I've never really found one. I'm not a big, I definitely care about skincare, but I don't wear makeup, but I care about skincare. But I just am like, can't this just be simpler? Isn't there just like, wash, but with proper product in a proper way, and then, maybe somewhere between 1 and 3 steps in the middle, but with proper products and in proper ways, and then put on a moisturizer at the end, proper product. Like, no, should I really be putting on more than like 5 products at night? Really? That just feels a bit excessive to do every night. And maybe I'm just a little lazy, but I'm just like, I don't really feel like it. Because especially if I'm really, really tired and like my schedule's off and I'm getting home late and I just want to go to bed, it takes a lot of like strong willpower just to actually make me like wash my face properly. So then having to do a bunch of steps beyond that, be like, nope, not gonna happen. So I like to keep it simple, but they're recommending keeping your skincare routine simple to limit the different number of products and ingredients, particularly if you have sensitive skin, because the more products and ingredients you use, the more you're exposing yourself to possible allergies or irritants. And so if you keep it to only a few products that work for you, you're less likely to irritate your skin. They also recommend not doing physical exfoliation, like with scrubs or harsh brushes. I do remember reading years ago about, you shouldn't do those, apricot seed scrubs or what have you, because they can I want to say tear your pores, but I'm not sure if that's correct. But that on the other hand, you do I do think you want to exfoliate regularly, but I haven't yet figured out a middle ground there. You should look at the ingredients. So for the skin barrier, things like, I'm going to probably mispronounce these. I do apologize. Niacinamide, sure, that one is good. A moisturizer with linoleic acid, an essential fatty acid that we can't manufacture ourselves, which helps repair the barrier function. So niacinamide and linoleic acid are 2 good ingredients to look for, plus that hydrogel one that I seriously just cannot remember the name of. You want to be careful about the pH of products, which I feel is really hard because that's not one of the things that they're required to put on a bottle, which would probably actually be pretty helpful, especially if you're concerned about pH in your products, to be like, this has a pH of, I'm going to go with 7.5, to be like, oh, okay, I don't want a pH above 8 or 8.5 or whatever, or I don't want a pH below because I cannot remember which one's acidic and which one's basic. That was a while ago in high school. I apologize. It's just like, yeah, but we don't have that. So I'm going into using this product semi-blindly unless I know specifically that, I have an allergy to such and such an ingredient, or such and such an ingredient generally doesn't work for me. But beyond that, it's just like, yeah, I have no idea about any of these things. Great. You also want to cleanse with tepid water as opposed to hot water. So for example, taking a hot shower, which I love. I love long hot showers to the point that I drive my family crazy at times because they're like, get out. You're taking all the hot water. Seriously, get out of the shower right now. Sorry. But that can be very harsh and drying on your skin. And so you want to sort of cleanse with tepid water. And even if you're in the shower, because your face is more exposed usually than the rest of your body, to not put your face under the shower spray, but rather to use more tepid water and probably not even a shower spray then, to, be softer to your skin. You should also look for antioxidants, which I feel was probably kind of pretty easy because antioxidants have been a big buzzword in skincare in the past few years. So like the sunblock I'm using now has antioxidants in it. I'm just like, everything has antioxidants, or it almost does. It just feels like it does. I'm not even sure these antioxidants do anything, but they all say they have antioxidants. But you want to look for antioxidants to help protect against free radical damage. So antioxidants are things like vitamins A, C, E, green tea extract. There are even certain food products like ginger, pomegranate, colorful fruits and veggies. These all tend to have antioxidants and free radicals, and the whole thing with, the ozone layer and the depleting of the ozone layer and how that can affect your skin and the rates in skin cancer rise. Antioxidants should help protect against that. But they also, interestingly, say look at your diet and stress levels. And I kind of knew diet-wise, but only along the lines of like drink a lot of water and don't eat a lot of sugar. And beyond that, I don't really know much about what I should be doing diet-wise for taking care of my skin. And I also kind of fail on both of those rules. So that would probably be why I don't know any beyond them. But especially for stress, because diet we kind of know, but stress you don't generally think about. And stress is actually proven to slow down the skin healing process, including skin barrier recovery. So you want to, as best you can, manage your stress levels, which I know is easier said than done, especially if you're actually getting stressed in the first place. That probably shows you're not managing it at that moment. So, good luck making up for the thing you're kind of failing in. But yeah, stress can also show up on your skin as well as diet. So you do want to take care of both of those. And they suggest supplementing your diet, but that doesn't necessarily mean take supplements. Theoretically, you should be getting these things in your diet, eating a well-rounded diet and eating lots of fruits and veggies that I fail to do. Eating the colors especially, I'm really terrible. I have totally had meals where everything on my plate was like somewhere between the shade of like white, yellow, and tan. I was just like, that's not healthy. But certain things that you want to kind of make sure you're getting in your diet are ceramides, essential fatty acids, omegas, like the omega-3s, omega-6s. And these can be taken as a supplement if you're not getting enough in your diet. And they can help calm your skin or soothe aggravating conditions from the inside out. So, omega-3s have been talked about for years and years about just how they almost seem to be like, I won't say miracle cures because they're not, but especially when you consider that a lot of the omega-3 sources are like small little oily fishes. It's just like, but those, at least for me, do not look anywhere near appetizing. So how did people get these before supplements? Because I'm not eating those little fishy things. I'm a very picky eater, but especially the little fish ones, just no. I believe the vegetarian option for omegas is flaxseed oil. So that's, either way, I'd be taking in a supplement, so I wouldn't want to eat either of those. But before you could put them in, gel capsule supplements or what have you, actually had to take like a spoonful of oil. Ugh. Yeah. So however you can try and get a good amount of ceramides, essential fatty acids, and omegas in your diet, whether that's by actually eating those little fishies or taking the supplement, or you just somehow manage to get those just from the regular stuff you eat, which bravo to you. And please let me know how you do that, because the eating right thing, I really struggle with. But then also, and again, because this is summer, wear sunscreen. That is so many healthcare and skincare and beauty and what have you experts. Like, number one, if you don't do anything else, do this sort of rule, is to wear sunscreen. And again, cancer, not cancer, whatever, seems to be better not lesser of two evils, but, better do than don't. So many doctors recommend wearing sunscreen as like the bare minimum for your health. So definitely wear sunscreen. So we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we will be talking about sunscreen. Stay tuned.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast. When we last left off, we were talking about sunscreen. Wear sunscreen. And really, very, very important, because sun damage does actually build up over time. So you think, oh, I just got a really dark tan, or oh, I just got a bad sunburn, and that'll be, affect me for a few days to a few weeks. Just after this summer, I'll be good. But that's not really the case. It does build up and affect your skin over time. So it's important to use sunscreen every day, even if it's cloudy, because, technically, if it's daytime, the sun is still technically, the sun never goes away, we just turn, but the sun is still there even behind the clouds, and those rays can come down and affect you, so you do want to wear sunscreen. You should choose a broad spectrum sunscreen that protects against both UVA and UVB radiation. And to make sure it is water resistant and has a sun protection factor, or an SPF, that's what that means, of 30 or higher. So the UVA and the UVB rays, I love that recommendation just because I've never seen a sunscreen that didn't do both. Like, I've never seen a sunscreen that was like, I only do UVA and I don't do that UVB stuff. I'm just like, can you find a non-broad spectrum sunscreen? Those exist in the world? I have no idea. But UVA rays are, and I love that I don't think this is why they were called this, but they work this way. UVA is the rays that age you, and UVB are the rays that burn you. And other than things made specifically for sun protection, you can't really escape them. Like, even car windows. Car windows will block one, but not the other. So you do have to look, again, not so much for sunscreen, because I've never not seen that, or on sunglasses either. Most things probably will say UVA and UVB are broad spectrum, but it's a good thing just to check and make sure, because you want to be protected from both of those things. You want to apply at least 1 ounce of sunscreen 15 to 30 minutes before going outdoors, and 1 ounce is enough to fill a shot glass for a quote-unquote average human person. If you're larger, you probably will need a bit more. I really like those, what do you call it? They look kind of like deodorant bars, but stick sunscreens. I don't quite know what to call those, because the whole putting on sunscreen before you go out the door, I can kind of do. I'm pretty good with. But then, like, apply every 2 hours or apply 30 minutes before. Like, when I'm heading home, I've been at work all day. Like, obviously that sunscreen's worn off. What do I do? And I don't really want to bring a bottle in my bag that could like spill and get over everything. So I really like those stick sunscreens that you can just rub on wherever and stick it in your bag. And you don't have to worry about a mess. So yeah, you should also reapply your sunscreen to your entire body every 2 hours. I'm really terrible at that, but I'm also indoors most of the time and not near a window. But if you're swimming and sweating, like I mentioned earlier, you should reapply every hour. You should also make sure that your sunglasses have 99 to 100% UV absorption. And the ideal frames, fashionistas, are big enough to cover the skin around your eyes and have polarized lenses with UV filters. Now that all sounded like quite a bit, but I particularly like and yet dislike the ideal frames are big enough to cover the skin around your eyes, because those make me think of like those big sunglasses that first became popular in the 70s. And I'm like, those don't look good on me. Do I really? Oh, okay. But they also, sort of the wraparound ones that look more sporty tend to do pretty good for that as well. But I also kind of don't like those. So, but I mean, for me, buying sunglasses is difficult, just period. I had a pair that I loved and I bought, I believe, like every other year, 3 times in a row, and then they stopped making it. And I was very sad, and I have not yet found another pair that I liked as much as those. So I'm still struggling to find a good pair of sunglasses. It's a real struggle. But you also, interestingly, for your sunglasses, want to avoid anything reflective, which is a bit surprising because so many sunglasses have reflective lenses, and I guess people think they look cool. I am 50-50 on those. Sometimes I'm like, oh, those are nice. Other times I'm like, I just don't want to deal with you. You look like you think you look like a certain way, and I can't deal with you right now. But the problem with reflective lenses is actually that they're reflective, but that means that they can bounce UV light onto your cheeks, which is obviously not what you want because we're trying to avoid, extra sunlight. So you want to avoid reflective lenses. You should use a lip balm or a lipstick that contains sunscreen with an SPF, again, of at least 30. They're not as hard to find as like regular sunscreen when it's not summer, but most lip balms and I think most lipsticks don't have SPF, and I'm not quite sure why that's the case. You can find them. You most definitely can. It's not like needle in a haystack hard, but it is sort of like, so all of these, which I really like, don't have, and then there's that one that doesn't even have a scent or a flavor, and you have SPF. Great. You want to avoid recreational sunbathing, and you also want to avoid sun lamps, tanning beds, or tanning salons. And that whole thing about like the tan, getting tan so you don't burn. No. Tanning is still skin damage. You're still damaging your skin, and that does build up over time, so you want to avoid all of that tanningness. And I don't know about the listeners, but even if I don't want to get tan, I can get tan partially because I'm probably not putting on sunscreen enough. So I'm not purposefully looking to tan. It's just like, yeah, okay. The sun rays are most intense between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. So there's actually this thing called the shadow rule, which I had never heard of, but this sounds actually really, really brilliant. And I'm a little upset I've never heard of this before. If your shadow is shorter than you, you should find shade, because that means the sun's, close to or directly overhead, and that's when their rays are more intense, so you shouldn't be out in the sun. I'm like, that is a very easy way to tell. I may not know what time it is, but my shadow's shorter than me, so get out of the sun. Great. I love the simple habit things that I don't have to think or count or remember anything. Love those. You also want to, and this evidently exists somewhere, but not on my local weather, pay attention to the UV index. Evidently some weather stations will tell you this. I wish mine did, but mine doesn't. But the UV index is a numbered scale which measures how damaging exposure to the sun will be on any particular day. And when the index is 10 or higher, you should try to stay indoors. So if you happen to have a weather report that gives you the UV index, take note of that. Sunscreen can usually be used on children 6 months and older. There are a number of sunscreens that are made specifically for children and babies, but for babies younger than 6 months, you should keep them completely covered and in the shade. Like, not even, oh, hey, I put sunscreen on, so they're good. Just completely covered in the shade because they're just too young to deal with all the rays of the sun. There are some medications that can make you more sensitive to the sun, so just be aware of that. And interestingly, you should be extra careful around water and sand, the like two things you totally expect to be around more in the summer. Awesome. Water and sand can reflect the sun's rays, which can increase your chance of getting a sunburn. So it's like, I'm going to the beach. Two things reflect the sun rays. So great. But also, even if you're in winter, it's not safe because snow can also reflect the sun rays and actually give you a sunburn. So you just, spring. This is why I love spring. Just only spring. Why do we not only have spring? But last note, sunscreen does expire, which kind of sucks because, again, it seems like most people only use it during the summer and then maybe put it away until next summer. But you should look for an expiration date on the bottom of the bottle. And if you don't have one, don't keep it any longer than 3 years. The FDA requires all sunscreens to work for at least 3 years, but past 3 years, you shouldn't keep it. And actually, if it was like a bottle you opened last summer, and now you should probably also toss that and get a new one as well, just because it's since been opened. But if it hasn't been opened, 3 years max. So those were some tips to help protect your skin, both just in general, but also from the sun, as it is now summer and so hot. So annoyed. So on that note, we're going to end for today. Thank you for listening to the GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Health and Wellness Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.